spirit soaring in the golden light. I find my road.
My experience at that time was, that he made it and he went all the way up. He came down
to pretty serious altitudes already.
Absolutely, and then I was just like, oh boy, you have to do this again? Can't you just come home?
It's like you've seen Kumbhu, you've seen Everest.
Yeah. I was like, are you going back up again?
Did you tell us? Did you tell him? You asked him?
I said, I'm like, wait, are you done? And he's like, no, that was just practice. I'm gonna have to do this again. Like,
but that break was very well required, isn't it?
Yeah, it was required, and it helped us rest and recuperate, and of course it helped us acclimatize, because I know it helped us acclimatize because the next time when we took the trek to the Everest View Hotel, which is at almost 3,800 meters, which is like 400-500 meters higher than Namche Bazaar, it took us. We managed to get there very
just
fast.
like a stroll in the park kind of story.
Yeah, it was. We went there. We got there pretty fast.
See, audience. That's the power of our body. Our body and mind are so powerful. Most of the times, we only restrict our body to show its full potential because our mind says, "Hey, you can't do it. You can't do it." But look at what happened. Just for 2 weeks before, he was struggling in that Everest Camp hotel, and now he's just walking park like easy. It was easy, but that's a great lesson here. So, how long you stayed, and when did you get back to EBC again?
We were supposed to stay 5-6 days, but because of some bad weather, we could not get a chopper back until I think April 8th or so.
Wow.
And I remember.
Sorry, May.
May. Yeah. And just to kind of sort of tell you, unfortunately, how oblivious I was to this whole experience that he was having. When he came down and he was at that hotel and he said, oh, finally I get to sleep in it. Although it's cold, but I have an electric blanket and I'm like defrosting and it feels really good. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you're back. By the way, I need a password for this. And oh, that invoice, could you please send that? Because I couldn't get into QuickBooks and you might have gotten a code. Can you please send me that code?
Totally oblivious of it.
Oh, like what he just did, what he came down, and he was like, oh yeah, I did get a text message, and I'll send you the code. And he's like, oh, and I'm thinking, hindsight, like you must have been like,
this woman, what?
She's not even asking me like what just happened.
What I endured.
Remember? And I was like, oh, and I couldn't get into QuickBooks.
There were lots of things that of course I carried my laptop with me. So I was able to take care of some business.
So yeah, I was like, oh, by the way, don't forget, we need to send that marination invoice to so and so. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll take care of it. And
okay, so let's get back to EBC now.
Yeah. So now I said, I brought my laptop back. We had brought a lot of our stuff. We got our whole laundry done in Namche Bazaar because that was so we got that done, but that meant our backpacks were pretty heavy.
Yeah.
On the way back, the chopper only took us to Lhotse, not to Everest Base Camp because of weather, that was the highest we could go, and from Lhotse we had to trek back with
all that weight,
with all the different weight, and of course when we went from Lhotse and the plan was to go back to base camp and then take a trek to the Pamori High Camp. Okay, this was another thing that we did before we did our rotation was we hiked up Pamori High Camp. Pamori is another peak that is almost 7,100 meters and the high camp is around 5,700 meters or so. So we hiked up there and came down. And it's very rocky. So we didn't want to, when we were on the way back, we said, you know what, once we go back to base camp, we'll have to do that. So instead of going back to the base camp directly, we made a stop at Gorakhshep and we stayed the night there. And the next day we hiked up to Kalapathar. Now, Kalapathar hike, people that have done it, it's not an easy hike. It's continuous climb all the way. I think it's like 5,600 meters or so. But that was something we had not done it. So instead of going back to base camp and then going on the Pamori, we said, we'll do the Kalapatar hike. So we did the Kalapatar hike and then we hiked back to the base
To the
camp.
base camp. So here you are around May 9th or May 10th, I think.
Yeah.
Right? You are in base camp.
Now we're back in base camp.
Base camp, and now all you're doing is waiting for the right window to start the climb. Is that right?
That is correct. So the news we got was, okay, we may have to be, wait for another week or so before we restart our hike. Or every day the weather was changing, the forecast was changing, and it was on the morning of May 13th we found out that, you know what, we are going up the mountain tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Wow. Now the things
Now
get really
it got
serious.
really serious, because this was there was no coming back now. This was the
Oh, we're
whole
going.
summit push.
Yes. So, Lubna, I remember that was a significant change in tone and everything, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
No, I mean the all of us every night, the kids and I would just sit here, and we would just reassure ourselves that everything was going to be okay. And there were moments where I was like, why is he doing this? I mean, I just wish that he would turn around and he would come home. And there was a time where one of my sons then said, like, is he gonna make it? And I said, you said this today, don't say it again.
Yeah.
Let's just keep believing, have faith in your dad, and faith in God. Like, there's no way that he's not coming back. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
And I wrote in a WhatsApp message to
Yes,
him
a
about,
beautiful poem. Not a poem, like a
yeah,
message.
just a little message that I wanted him to know that he was and is an amazing father, an awesome husband, and if his dad were alive, he would have been extremely proud of him. And just that, and the kids are just waiting. We're all waiting to
Correct.
have him come back home. And
I'm sure that was your thought as well, isn't it? Must have been a very nervous
Yeah,
10 hours.
it was very nervous, nerve-wracking, especially, and I remember the message that Lubna was talking about. I think that was pretty, because she summed it up so well in that hey, we're going out, and this is where it is, and of course, the big elephant, will I come back from this?
Which is
Or something because up until that point, okay, we had survived the previous climb. We did not get sick. We did not get nothing happened. But after that point, we knew the risks were all there.
Into the unknown now.
Into the unknown, we could how well we would acclimatize, how well we would deal with the higher elevations, because we'd gone up to almost 7,000 meters. I knew I had been up to 7,000 meters, but what would happen if I went on to 7,500 meters, 8,000, 8,500 meters? It was all unknown. And then there were all the other risks. Crossing the Kumbhu Glacier again. And Kumbhu Glacier has scared many climbers from giving up, abandoning the entire
Summit expedition.
Because Kumbhu can be
Too daunting.
and
Yeah.
scary. So we had to go through that again. Again, I was confident that Kumbhu I would be able to tackle it, but my worry was the higher
Beyond. See, now that you have done it, is it fair to say that the difficulty to reach the level you reached during the, acclimatization climb, that difficulty is only half of the actual difficulty from that point to the summit, or is it 1/3?
I think I wrote about this back, that what we had done was only about 20%, the rest 80%.
Is from that point where it turned around,
Yeah.
80% of the job remains from that point onwards.
Yes.
Think
It is
about that.
exponentially difficult, because how your oxygen level goes down, your elevation is going up, and then the conditions in the mountains.
Very different.
They're very different.
So let us reach that point in the story. So you started climbing that night. What night? What time you started?
So it was the May 14th, 1 a.m. that we started the climb. And I took that picture, one last picture, and I sent it because I knew that I would not have any connectivity for the next 6-7 days.
And I think our call that night, or when that call right before you started, I think that was like the first time sort of that I reminded him that every step, please just
Keep that in
chant the
mind,
little
correct.
prayer that I gave you.
Yes,
Keep
yes.
reciting the prayer because
That's what matters.
nothing else is going to take you to, and bring you up to
Yeah.
the summit and back.
Yes, yes, and of
I mean,
course,
that
that
was my
prayer-
emotions from here because they were settling in.
Yeah.
They, I was feeling okay.
Things are getting serious.
This is serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So May 14th we started that climb, and I think this time Kumbhu Glacier also we traversed it. Fairly. I think 10 hours we were past the Kumbhu Glacier, and another half an hour or so I was at Camp 1. And once we got to Camp 1, we were just rested, because the next morning we trekked to Camp 2. Again, because we were acclimatized, we got to Camp 2.
And Camp 1 to Camp 2, you said was not that difficult.
It's not that difficult. It's a gradual hike, and it's nothing. I mean, there are crevasses, but you just walk around.
Yeah.
You are, and then there are only small crevasses that you may have to jump across, but everything. It's the easiest part of the hike from base camp to summit. Camp 2 was the day 1. Of course, we had we just did a training hike. We just walked up to the crampon points. Crampon point is the point where we would stop
Start
and
wearing crampons.
put the crampon on, and we walked back. And the next morning, we geared up and basically put on our oxygen. Yeah, and then we all decided that we will start using the oxygen from Camp 2 itself, because even though we were acclimatized to, we had walked beyond Camp 1, but this is the first time at least I was using oxygen, and it would give us time to get used to the mask on our face and any adjustment. You don't want to start fidgeting with the mask and
In high
adjusting once you need the oxygen. So
Yeah.
we said, when you don't need the oxygen at that time, we get used to it. So
How is it? Is it comfortable or what was the experience?
it's fairly comfortable.
Yeah.
But and from Camp 1 to Camp 2 onwards, when we had the oxygen, one thing is oxygen gives you the extra boost, extra oxygen in your blood. So
Little more
initially,
energy. Yeah.
it gives you more energy, and we were able to leave Camp 2 at a
Brisker pace.
brisk pace, and once we got to the Lhotse face, that's when there's a point where there's a vertical climb, and then you traverse across a short distance, not too long, and then after that you're climbing on ice,
So
blue ice,
let's talk about vertical climb. What do you mean by vertical climb?
meaning it's like a 90-degree wall.
All right. Just
So it's about 30 feet.
give me some couple of seconds to
Yes.
digest this.
Yeah, just the vertical.
What do you mean? Like 30 feet is like a couple of I think 2 or 3 stories
2
high,
or 3 stories, yes.
and it is just almost 90-degree wall.
Also 90-degree wall.
And how huge is this wall? Like it's like a Game of Thrones kind of a wall.
It's like, yeah.
It's like that.
It's like that. So you have to get to a ledge. You have to
So
get,
and then how do you climb up? Like I mean,
okay. So there you use your Jumar, and you dig your crampons into the wall, and you
Vertically?
Vertically. You
You have to kick into the
you
wall.
kick into the wall, and then just climb up slowly.
and so you have to hold the Jumar, right, for your weight.
No, you're not hanging. I mean, you try to put your weight as much as possible on and because people have climbed before you, there are footholds in the wall.
But still it is 90 degrees.
It is 90 degrees.
So for 90 degrees, you are just like catching this and just
Yeah.
foothold.
So you're
next
pulling
step.
the Jumar, and then next step, one step at a time, slowly you get
How long it takes for you to traverse the 30 feet?
about minute or so.
Oh, in 1 minute you are able to do
Yeah,
that.
1 minute.
Okay,
you're
not
able
that
to-
bad.
Not that bad. You get up there, but of course you do get out of breath because
Of
yeah,
course,
you're
exhausted.
climbing up, and also you're on oxygen. You're almost at 6,900 meters.
It's like
Awesome.
22,000. Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's very high.
Yeah. And then after that, the wall you traverse laterally on the wall. There's a ledge, and then you get to a point, and then after that it's almost like a 60 degree vertical climb
60-70 degree angle.
angle.
And that's all blue ice, you said.
There are sections of blue ice in
Blue ice means what? Like it's hardened ice?
It's hardened ice that your crampons cannot
Even go inside.
even go inside.
It's just slippery and just
It's
basically
very
ice.
It's ice. It's ice. It's sheet of ice. However, the saving grace is because many people have gone before you, so somehow there are some footholds already made. So you have to make sure that
Wow.
you follow those footsteps.
And it's at 60-70 degree
Oh
angle.
my
Yes.
God.
And
So for folks, at 60-70 degree angle, just an idea. Go to your treadmill and put 15 degree angle. That's the max a treadmill can go. That's the max it can go. So imagine double, triple, almost 4 times that angle.
yeah.
That's 70 degree angle.
Yeah. So in that, it's at that angle. Some places it might get down to 45 degrees, but even that's
That's your rest area.
yeah, that's the rest area. That's some area where you can probably rest on your feet instead of just hanging by the rope.
Ah.
So, but all this time you are on the
Jumar.
Jumar, and you have your safety attached, and you are climbing slowly.
Just
Slowly.
put your head down and keep doing this.
Keep doing this for the next 300 meters vertical ascent.
How long it takes for 300 meters, 1,000 feet almost?
It took us like a good, I think, 3-4 hours of climbing.
This is reaching Camp 3.
This is reaching.
This is
Camp.
not even the main thing.
Yeah.
You're just reaching
Right.
Camp 3 to do all of these things.
Correct.
What was your thought process at that point?
It's just that have
What
to
were
keep
you
doing
thinking?
one step after another.
Were you doubting
There's
yourself that, hey man, will I be able to do this? It's getting harder by the second.
No, I did not have a doubt as such. I knew I would have to just continue doing what I was doing,
Ah.
and to
Energy
get-
levels were there and good
Yeah.
enough.
Energy levels.
Did you have any stomach issue because of altitude and such?
No, I did not. Fortunately, did not have any altitude issues,
Okay.
and I was of course tired. Needed breaks and for water, and I was doing that. Eating my bars and then just continuing on.
So after that, you reached Camp 3.
We reached Camp 3.
So at this point, Lubna, you had given a note, a thing that a map where Jafar's position. I think someone's sent you and it shared. And I remember you sent a position of Camp 3 he had reached.
Yes.
I think that was a very big moment for all of us in the
Yes.
group, isn't it?
Yes, everyone was waiting eagerly to hear from him. I think maybe a couple of days had passed, and
Yes, we didn't know anything.
we didn't know anything. It was kind of quiet on the, on that group, and
People started pinging you on the side.
people were definitely calling me. They were texting me. Phone calls were going like, "Hey, any news? Any news? Any news?" And I was like, listen, as soon as I hear something, I promise, like, you guys will be the first to know. I'll definitely let you know. And that entire night went by and we were waiting. And I think very early on in the morning is around, I think it was around 5 o'clock our time, 5 a.m., that I received a message that, or 5 or 6 a.m. that we reached Camp 3. And I just took a screenshot of that message and I put it on WhatsApp, and then all of a sudden the emojis started, everybody was like, great job, our prayers are with you, amazing, awesome.
Yeah. See, we talked in our not professional mountaineering, but at least little bit more experienced mountaineers. He said, "Man, Camp 3 Jafar has reached.
Yeah.
That is already a big deal." We were discussing. He said,
And
"Man,
actually someone posted that
Atul posted.
I believe Atul posted that.
Said it's
that
already
is
a big
already an
deal.
achievement. Like
Yeah.
there's, that's just, he's already done it.
yes." There were two thoughts we had. Camp 3 is already a huge deal, But we know from now onwards, every step is a hardcore sort of. Every
Yes.
step is hardcore from this point. Is that fair to say? And how was
That
your
is,
experience?
that is true, because Camp 3, and one good thing is, I could see the tents for Camp 3, and I knew the Camp 3 were there, and once I got there, our tents happened to be the very first ones.
That means so easy
Yeah.
to just get.
Yeah. So it was one of the
Pleasurable
blessings,
thing.
like you could say. Oh my God! I got to this point. Oh my God! These are our tents. Okay.
I didn't
So-
have to do another 10 meters
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I thought we had to go higher up and all, and basically camp set up on sort of steps. So the first level were our tents, and then the next level were other
And
tents.
I'm sure it's just plain vanilla tent, right? There's no no luxury, nothing.
No luxury, nothing.
No
I mean,
shower.
We had our sleeping bags and our basically the mats. And that's all.
How's the food like? Was there any hot food available for you?
They had hot food, the same
Noodles and that type of
noodles
stuff.
and that type of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so
Noodles
that is what
noodles.
time you reached Camp 3?
I don't recall the time. It was around 3:30, 4 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon. So we basically went to. Next morning was going to be early start, so we ate and drank, and they said they're going to wake us up at 5 a.m. with coffee, and we went to sleep. So. And then of course we had oxygen on and we slept with the oxygen. That was the first night that I slept with the oxygen, so kind of was getting used to it. And then next morning 5 a.m. the guy just tripped my leg and said, okay, time to wake up, and here's the coffee. So we had coffee. Of course that day we didn't brush or anything.
Okay, I'm recording this message on the Camp 4 of Mount Everest, 7,900 and some change meters. The death zone begins just a few tens of meters from here. So anyway, I am sharing my tent with my tent mate Raj, and upon his request, he wanted me to sing the song that I sang for my wife on Mount Aconcagua and also on the Lhotse face. So here it goes. O महबूबा तेरे दिल के पास ही है मेरी मंजिल मकसूद तेरे दिल के पास ही है मेरी मंजिल मकसूद वो कौन सी महफिल है जहाँ तू नहीं मौजूद वो कौन सी महफिल जहाँ तू नहीं मौजूद वो कौन सी महफिल है जहाँ तू नहीं मौजूद ओ महबूबा तेरे दिल के पास ही है मेरी मंजिल मकसूद.
Camp 4 was basically a continuation of what we had done
In that blue ice,
in the
steep
blue
thing.
ice and steep thing. As soon as we basically left our tents, walked laterally with the rope, we attached ourselves to the rope and start climbing.
And Camp 4 is at what altitude?
Camp 4 is at almost 7,900 meters.
That's like 26,000 feet.
Yeah, so it's like another, so 600 meters of
And you are
elevation.
well above your own personal record right now from an altitude standpoint.
Yes.
So you are every step you're making history, personal history.
Yes. So this is that thought did come to me that hey, this is the highest I've ever been, and with each step, it's going to be the highest that I've ever been. So we continued that climb, and of course, and this climb we hit traffic also. So in a way, when we hit traffic, I was actually glad that okay,
Some
now
rest you will get.
we'll get some rest. And at one point, we hit some traffic, and my Sherpa unclipped me, and he said, go on the side and walk over. And I said, no, it can't be happening. I said, no. I said, we'll just stay behind them and we will go.
So when you're climbing on the 60-70 degree ascent, what is there down below? It's just like huge mountain drop on both sides?
It could, not on one side there was a huge drop, on the other side there was
Some mountains. So drop is, what are we talking about here?
I mean, it's slope, and you don't know where the slope would end.
God.
Oh, so it's like an abyss.
Yeah, abyss. So it's just a slope,
Oh
and
my
it just goes. And I did lose little up ahead. I did lose my glove.
Oh.
I took my glove off or something, and it fell, and I could see it go for about good 30 seconds. I wanted to ask my Sherpa, let's go get it, and then I looked at it, and it's like
It's not stopping.
It's not stopping at all. So it kept
Oh
going
my
and
God.
going and going. So I
It's
lost
like a
the
movie,
glove.
like it just
So
goes in
I
and just...
told my Sherpa, okay, this is my another glove, the smaller glove in my bag. Can you help me? Can you help take it out? So he took it out, and I had basically
So that's like a 4,000, 5,000 feet descent down
Oh
below.
my God.
easily.
Wow.
That's
So you're
easily.
like climbing in this cloud,
Yeah.
above the
And
clouds.
then we get to this point where there's another vertical wall.
So this is
Nearly-
before Camp 4.
This is well before Camp 4.
So there's
So-
one more vertical wall you have to climb
Yeah.
at 25,000 feet or
Yeah,
something like that.
25,000
Oh my
feet.
God.
So once we climb this wall,
No, how-
I see tents.
Wait. How high is this vertical wall? Another 30 feet?
Another 30 feet, 30, 40 feet.
But this time it will be a lot more difficult than the previous
It
vertical.
is. It is a lot more difficult. Like, once we got up, we had to take a rest. And it's like, in fact, Sherpa told me, okay, sit on this part and rest. Rest.
Oh my
So,
God.
so
Oh
we,
my goodness.
but then when I looked up, I saw tents. I said, oh my God, that's
Camp 4.
Camp 4. I was so happy. So we then continued climbing and climbing and climbing. So then my Sherpa turned to me and asked, I said, you know what, why are we clipped to each other? I said, this is not that, I mean, the slope at this point was almost like, 30 degrees, 30 to 35 degrees, but even that is tough. And I can tell you, it is, the people were like, just waiting for minutes before taking the next step.
Oh, like one step, couple
I mean-
of minutes, next step. Like
Yes,
that.
yes.
Just to get the energy
Yeah.
back.
And so that's how. So my Sherpa asked me, okay, is it okay if I go and wait at Lhotse Camp 4 and you come up? I'm like, Lhotse Camp 4? So is that Lhotse Camp 4?
So
I mean,
that's
I
not-
didn't ask him. This is all my thought going.
So that's not even the Everest
Yeah,
Base Camp.
so that's not Camp 4. So then I look to the right and I see up there people climbing, traversing a ridge and then climbing up more.
So you didn't even see the camp from there.
Yeah, we don't even see the Camp 4.
Oh my
So that was the Lhotse Camp
That
4.
must be very disheartening.
It was very disheartening. So the Sherpa walked on ahead, and I kind of slowly, 15-20 minutes later,
How long
went-
was it taking you to take a step?
again, there are times that I was resting, there was times I was taking 2-3 steps, and then there was times I was resting for maybe a minute or so, and then
And you were on oxygen that time.
I was on oxygen. So finally, I got up to that Lhotse Camp 4, where I saw our Polish team guys were also resting there, but my Sherpa was waiting up ahead for me. So I went up to him and I thought he might say that, hey, we might stop here, but no. He said, okay, take a rest and we'll
Let's
continue.
keep going.
We'll continue. And after that, the slope reduced a bit before we basically traversed a whole ridge. And then after that, it was nearly vertical climb.
Again.
Oh my God.
And this was, on ice, vertical climb on ice is still better. This is like rocks. And somehow, after some time, got up, and then
How did you have the energy after all of this to climb vertical after vertical, man?
There's no choice. You have to, what are you going to do? There's only either you go up or you go down. Okay? So,
You said you saw some people's oxygen tanks or masks were leaking and they needed help. And
I mean,
there
yes.
was like some
yeah.
things that were happening that
Yeah,
were
there were,
making you feel like
people who stopped. There were people always who stopped who needed help and all. And I saw more of those on my I did not focus on them because we were all moving in the same direction. But when I was coming down, I saw more of that. People needing help. People stopped because they needed help. Because here I'm just following the next person, and if somebody stopped, I would just pass them. Excuse me. So coming back here, once we got up to that point, that's when the Sherpa said, "No more climbing. The camp is
Straight ahead.
It's about 15 minutes ahead." And that was
15 minutes still.
yeah, still 15 minutes,
Wow.
but at least we
Flat
went
ground.
almost flat. I mean, little up and down, but we then finally walked into
Camp 4.
Camp 4. We had to find our tents, which was like in another corner of it. Went there, took the crampons off, took my shoes off and all, and basically just laid down. They brought some hot soup and hot water and all, which I drank, and I kind of rested. And then I looked at the time, and it showed 7 o'clock. I said, "Oh my God, it took us this much time. We were expecting 9-10 hours of climb, but this is almost showing almost 12 hours of climb." So that's when one of the Sherpa came and says, "It's 5 o'clock." So again, so my watch had connected to Beijing time.
So still 5 to 5, almost
Yeah.
11, 12 hours
Yeah.
of climb.
Yeah, it was almost 10
10 hours of
10
climb.
hours of climb. So we left around 7ish. I got there like 4:35. I may have got.
So you reached, and Lubna, I remember you sent that again, another post with him at Camp 4. I think that was like tremors
Yeah.
in our group, isn't
Yes.
it? Because then we thought
Yes.
maybe summit is actual possibility now, right?
Yes.
We had those thought process.
Yes.
That was
And
a very exciting time,
that
isn't
was
it?
a very exciting, nerve-wracking time where at that moment I think my entire family on the WhatsApp group and also all our friends and everyone just started sending a prayer.
Yes. See,
It was just that time it was no more like, it was serious. Everyone got
this is
very
real. This is
serious.
as real as it can get. And folks, once he reached Camp 4, which is at 26,000, 27,000, around that height, he's just before the dead zone area. And if you folks who've seen the part 1 of this is the place from where he has max 48 hours to make a bid and come back and get the hell out of that place. That's it. So inside we knew that next 48 hours, one way or the other, we know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
From a difficulty level, I remember you mentioned the beginning of Lhotse phase was 20%, 80% was remaining.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how would you rate the difficulty remaining from Camp 4 to summit?
I would say 50% of the
50%!
50% because Camp 4 to summit is
No,
no
really,
joke.
that means,
Yeah.
think about this statement, folks. Like all this while, from EBC to Kumbhu to base camp 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, only comprises 50% of the
50%.
effort.
Yeah.
Wow.
He still has another 50% effort, and we are thinking, we didn't know about that.
No.
We are thinking, oh, it's Camp 4, oh, then it's summit is possible.
Yeah.
But he has another 50% effort.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Many people give up at that point. So
Yeah. Let's talk about that. How was
So-
that?
So anyway, so that's when our Sherpa came and said, "Okay, fine, we'll be leaving at 6:30 or 7." And by the time we got ready, I think we left around
In the morning.
No, this is at night.
Oh, sorry, in the
So
night.
we climbed. We had been climbing all day, got a few hours of rest,
And that's
then-
it. Start climbing after that.
And then we start climbing.
Just couple of hours rest and start climbing.
Yeah.
Wow. To the
So-
summit.
To the summit. And this time, and I remember that day, I had because I had an extra buff and this and that, so it seemed surreal at that point. Hey, are we going? Yeah, yes. And sure enough, people started walking. I mean, for some distance, it was
Flat
flat
ground.
ground, and then you start looking, and you see the lights just going up and up and up and up and up, and they disappear. So I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how many hundreds of meters that is, or feet that is. So we start climbing, and every time it feels like, okay, that might be the top of the ridge, and after which we'll probably hit the balcony. No, we have another 50 or 100 feet to go, and then another 50 or 100 feet to go. It seemed like an endless place where
The Hillary? What?
Hillary step. We're not
even
even close to that.
we are not even close to that. We are not even close to that. So and while we are getting up to the balcony, we come to a
So
kind
you
of
say
rocky
balcony.
area.
Talk a little bit. What do you mean by balcony?
Balcony is an area where the ground is relatively flat.
Okay.
Relatively flat for some.
Before it takes the next.
Then before it takes the next step. So that's called the balcony. So as we are approaching the balcony, a couple of things happen. On the way there, I saw some people had just pulled over. They stopped. There was one guy I remember was puking his guts out, and I think time was
He's
over
done.
for him. He was he was done. There were other people who just talked about stopping. So we passed a lot of these people, people who were turning back. However, one thing I remember is about when we were about to get to the balcony, about maybe 50, 100, or maybe 100 or 150 feet below that, this guy was screaming like Kenji, 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 Kenji. All I remember is Kenji, and I don't remember.
Like he's a climber.
Screaming. So my Sherpa Dorje, he looked at him and he said, somehow he recognized that this guy belonged to the 8K climbing team, and his oxygen level was
Low.
low.
Oh, Lord.
Low or probably nothing. Now, I did not realize how serious that could be until I experienced it myself, which I'll just give an example for now. On the way down, my Sherpa was going to change my oxygen tank. So he took out my oxygen tank, disconnected my oxygen tank. Typically, the change process takes about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. For some reason, I think he was having some issue with the regulator, pulling out the regulator and all, and it may have taken him maybe a little over a minute, maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes. And I started panicking because I felt I'm not able to breathe. I was almost panicking. But then when I looked and I saw he's working on it, I sort of said, you know what, if I panic, I'll probably...
You need more oxygen.
More oxygen. So I should probably calm down and try to, just close my eyes and try to think about it, and it will come back. And sure enough, so...
You are at that edge, basically.
You're basically at that edge. So I cannot imagine the pain this guy was, or the panic this guy was going through.
So he's not able to breathe, essentially.
He's not able to breathe enough oxygen, and he's yelling and screaming.
And he's at 27,000 feet.
27,000 feet. So once we got up there, my Sherpa went and told somebody, and then 2 other guys rushed and brought him up, and they changed his oxygen and all. So, and then he kind of calmed down. So, and then sure enough, we continued on. On the balcony again, it's like...
So balcony is what altitude you're talking of?
We are about 26, close to 27,000.
27,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still have
2,500 feet more to go.
More to go. So from the balcony we get, and then the other climb starts, and this is again vertical climb. Like not vertical, nearly like 45-degree climb, 45 degree to 60 degrees. And it just goes on and on and on, and in between we get some rock climbs, which is painful to go through that. And then so once we keep going, and then I tell my Sherpa, listen man, I gotta take a break now. So the guy says, that summit, after you go to that summit, there is a flat, you can rest.
Summit as an Everest summit? No, some of the summit.
This is the South Summit.
South Summit, okay.
South Summit. I didn't know it was a South Summit, but once we got up there, so this is the South Summit, and we got a place to rest. And that's when I looked at the Hillary Step.
So let's talk a little bit about Hillary Step, because it's very big, momentous milestone. What is special about Hillary Step?
Okay, it's a basically a place where it's a one way, only one person. It's a very narrow path where you can traverse to the main summit,
So narrow means what? What do you mean by narrow? Like
Narrow meaning there's a wall on this side, there's a path maybe about a foot or maybe 9 inches. So sometimes you just have to put 1 foot on.
Yeah.
And on this side, it's almost nothing.
Oh my
that
God.
ends up in Tibet.
I just got like,
so you're like 10,000 feet drop at a minimum.
Possibly, whatever. I mean, of course,
Oh
you
my
have the safety
I
on.
just got like goosebumps
Yeah,
right
you
now.
have the safety on. But when I looked at it, like, hey, we have to go down, then climb up, then continue. That's where we have to go. I mean, okay, so we started. I started following my Sherpa, but that's when my vision was also.
So tell me, what happened to your vision by the time?
So I had the oxygen mask, and because we were climbing at night, I did not put I had my goggles with me, but I did not take them on. Glasses would not have helped, but even if I had them on, but I had my goggles, and I was the oxygen was probably the mask does not fit that well.
Exactly.
So it depends on so it was probably leaking from one side or whatever or both sides, and it was actually I guess hitting my eyes and cold or whatever for whatever reason my vision was getting blurred.
So you were not able to see that much.
I was not able to see.
And you are
very
walking in Hillary step with a blurred vision.
clearly.
Oh my
I'm
God.
walking. I mean this time at least I can see the steps and I'm able to follow. And there was places where I was a little unstable, but I somehow crossed the Hillary
How
step.
long is this Hillary step walk?
It's about maybe 70 to 100 feet.
Timing wise, how long?
Timing wise, it took us like almost 10 minutes. You can say.
10 minutes on this, like 10,000
Yeah.
feet on one side,
Yeah.
just one small step
Small
with blurred
step.
eye
Yeah,
vision.
and then you're climbing up, you're climbing down, you're this much path. Sometimes you're taking a step here, there's nothing here, and then you're putting a step there.
And daytime or nighttime this is?
This is daylight at
So like morning, early morning.
Early morning. It was
Okay.
probably around 6:30ish or so.
Okay.
So, and then, of course, we crossed that. I needed a break. I said, took a break, drank some hot water, and then we continued on, and that way, we were on the way to the summit.
So after you finish Hillary step, were you able to see the summit?
Yes. I
How
able-
far was it from Hillary step?
Maybe about 200 or 300 feet.
So it's like another 20 minutes max?
Yeah, 20 minutes.
You were 20 minutes away from the summit of Everest.
Yes.
How were you feeling at that time, man?
Tired, but I said, you know what? One step after another.
Once you're done with Hillary step, you have to do it now.
Yeah, now we have to do it. So at this point, I told my Sherpa, listen, you're pulling me too much. So why don't you just go ahead? I'll come. So the guy said, okay, fine. Just
And that's when I received a text from Rajan. Jafar is about half an hour to 20
To the
minutes.
summit. Yes, I remember. That was such an exciting moment. See,
And
was-
we have to talk a little bit about that moment.
yes, we will. We will. Talk a little bit about that actually.
That moment, because I was getting all day, I was getting phone calls like from everyone, like, what's happening. So I actually knew about an hour before, and that's probably when Jafar was going through the Hillary steps, because Rajan had texted me, but I didn't put that on the group chat because I just, and that moment in our house, we had our prayer mats out. We were all praying. I literally was on our, what we call our janimaz, with my hands up and just begging Allah, begging God just to bring
Come
Jafar
back
home.
home.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. And the kids were all next to me. And we got the message that he's about 20 minutes to half an hour to summit. And then, we stopped the WhatsApp group chat because we didn't want to hear anything anymore.
Yeah.
We were just like, okay, this is it. Either we're going to hear some really good news or we're going to hear some
Something else.
pretty bad news.
Yeah.
And it was a
It's tough.
very tough moment.
That's not easy. Because cusp of something great, but cusp of something really dangerous too, because we all knew they had come back as well. They had come back from that point.
So maybe an hour before that, when Rajan had texted saying that, you know, Jafar is going to do it. He's, you know, is on his way. We're about half an hour. You know, he's about an hour, and then I'll text you again when he's about half an hour or so. So to distract myself, I actually got up and I said, you know, I'm going to make a video again. And I picked like the most amazing songs and some songs that he likes with like Dawn and, you know, and like the Bong or whatever. Like I was just trying to just like really distract myself and how would I congratulate him. So I like ended up making like, I selected all these random songs and put together a congratulations video because that's how I wanted to introduce to everyone that he's made it. He's done it.
Correct.
It's like that's what's
so,
happening.
So beautifully done. So back to you, Jafar. So you're 20 minutes away from the summit. You're half, 50% eyesight, or what percentage of eyesight?
Yeah, at that point, I think it was still there. I mean, I was able to see, but as I got to the summit, that's when, like, you know, I unclipped the thing and I was walking. So the Sherpa comes up to me and says, "No, you cannot." Yeah, clip it. So he went and clipped it to close to the summit. There's the rope, safety rope. So he clipped it, and I said. And that's when I was started looking around, I asked the Sherpa, is this like a lot of fog here? This is, yeah, वो तो है थोड़ा बहुत, ऐसे तुमको दिखाई दे रहा है? I says, I can see, but for me, and then when I wanted to take videos and I'm looking at the phone, I'm not able to look at the image. I'm like, okay, so the
eyes are getting really blurry.
Eyes are getting blurry, so near vision was almost not there. Far vision, I was able to see shapes and all, but not the details.
So when you stood on the Everest summit, what did you see?
I mean, it was very foggy, so the whiteout, almost nearly whiteout. But the sun came out briefly and it disappeared. But still, like, you know, I was not able to see, you know, other peaks or other things because the weather was bad.
Getting bad.
Yeah.
And so you were. How did you feel?
At that point, I said, you know what, I'm here. Let me take the pictures, let me take all those things, and then let me get out of here.
I need to get back home.
Yeah, just get back home. Now, mission accomplished. So let's take charge of, let's do this. So I got the pictures, I made the videos, and you know, my nephew had asked me to, you know, call Azan and all that. So did that. So I had a list of things that I had all mentally prepared. Like, okay, do this. And then I told the guys, like, okay, come on.
How long you stayed at the summit?
Maybe about 20 minutes.
20 minutes, did all the things that, so thank you for taking a picture with our RHWB flag as well. I know you took a beautiful picture with your Lubna's company. Tribos, Peri and DMED, and I think that those are all, you know, taking just even a couple of grams up to Everest summit requires a much larger heart, and thank you for doing that.
Okay, to all my friends, family, and all the wonderful people, I am on the summit of Mount Everest, and it's been a hard climb, but by God's grace, I made it safely. Now the next thing is I have to get back to Camp 4, so I'll send them a message once I'm at Camp 4. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah, hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah.
I know the job is not over yet.
Yeah, and then I had to come back.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, when we started coming back, when I looked at Hillary Step, and that's when I told the Sherpas, guys, I cannot see the footsteps. I do not know where to put my feet.
In the Hillary Step.
In the Hillary Step. So
now that's a problem.
That is a problem. So I think they radioed back home saying that, you know, I'm not able to see and all. Also,
yeah, so that's when I got a message from Rajan that, and I remember Balaji posting on WhatsApp saying, hey, that it's not. Let's wait,
Hold on to the
off
celebration.
on these celebrations. We'll have a once we know he's back to base camp or camp 2, like we'll be able to celebrate. Let's hold off on the celebration. And when I read that, I knew like, okay, so there's something more coming our way that we should probably, expect.
Yeah.
And then Rajan then texted right around that time saying Jafar's having difficulty seeing, but he's
managing it.
managing.
So, folks, to Lubna's point, I think there is a stat that says 70% of fatality occurs not in the climb up, but it's actually climb down for 3 primary reasons. One is the adrenaline that takes you to the top is sort of suddenly disappears, because once you reach the summit, you feel that you've done it. At least inexperienced climbers think like that. So without the adrenaline, the muscle loses its power a little bit. 2, you're already climbed for so long, and if you don't manage your energy levels properly, most folks who die is because they lose 95% of their energy climbing up. They don't manage it, so they don't have any energy remaining. So when they come back, they don't have any energy. Still, it's a pretty crazy peak. And then finally, the muscle that is used for going up and coming down are very different muscles. So you need to have strength in your legs to come down. If you don't have any energy, you start falling down. And this is for normal people. Now, when he's at the Hillary step and he can't see, what percentage eyesight I thought there? What did you say?
I would say it's about 50% of the eyesight. I'm able to see the shape, I'm able to see the path, but I do not know where exactly to put my leg. If there's a hole there, and then I'm gonna trip. And this is what I told the Sherpa. I said, instead of me focusing on you, tell me if I'm gonna come down slowly. And this is what we did. Very slowly I kept
In
coming
that
down.
one small path,
Yeah,
in
on
the
one
Hillary
small
step.
path. And as we were completing this Hillary step, I thought I saw a blue and some flag out there. It happened to be some guy wearing a blue suit. I thought it was like a flag. So my vision was totally messed up.
Totally messed up, yeah.
At that point. So anyway, once we crossed the Hillary step, and then we went up, and then after that to the south summit again. After that, it's a
Sheer drop.
but it's a slope, and that's when we came down some ways, and then actually I think one of the Sherpas suggested is, hey, why don't we use the descender and you go down? So that was actually a good move, because
So all your training helped you.
Yeah, so I was descending while the guy was telling me, okay, move to your left, move to your right.
So because you're descending almost blind.
Almost blind. So I'm descending backwards, so I'm able to see him, and he's able to tell me. I mean, at that point my vision was slightly getting better. It was like slightly getting better, but we kept descending until we got to the balcony. And again, there I tried to go straight. Big problems again. I was not able to see, and I was slipping and sliding there. So, we discontinued that.
How did you come down the vertical wall?
Oh, vertical wall again with them directing me, because I was rappelling backwards, and they were telling me, okay, move right, move left. So this is how I was set. And pretty much after we came down to the balcony, my one Sherpa, he went ahead, and the other Sherpa and I, Dorje and I, we kind of went down slowly, like him telling me, go this way. And incidentally, at that point, my Sherpa was changing the ropes from at each anchor point, and that's when he dropped my figure of 8. My descender, he dropped it. It's gone.
Gone. Into the
Gone.
crevasse.
Yeah,
Into wherever it is.
Wherever it is, we lost it. So that's when he gave me his this thing, and he said, he's gonna let me. I said, no, I'll use it and I'll give it back to you. So he gave me his descender. So I used his descender, and he had a different type of descender. So there's a different kind of. It's called ATC. So I had not used the ATC, so I told him, hey, you have to show me how to use the ATC.
All the way up there, you're figuring out
Yes.
how to use
it.
it.
Yeah, the principle is the same, because you just let go and you just descend. But he was making the changes after that. So, and that's how we continued down all the way down until we came to the
Camp 4.
Camp 4.
How long it took for you to come down?
It took me about 8-9 hours.
8-9 hours.
Normally I was expecting 4 or 5 hours.
So it's double. That was the slow
Almost
because
double.
of your eye and other
Yeah,
problems.
and then on the way on our descent before we had this storm hit, and we got lots of snow. Within it seemed like within 30 minutes or so we got a foot of snow or something, and then it was super cold. And that's when I tried covering my cheeks and all. I think that's when I got the
Frostbite
in that little bit of exposure. So I don't know how cold it was, but it was super, super cold. So, but when I came to the camp, I was still okay. I recorded some video.
Okay, good morning. This is the morning after the summit of Mount Everest, the tallest peak from above sea level. And yesterday I did not leave a full message because for factors I really don't know if it was the oxygen leaking from here or if it was the cold and my eyes, by the time I reached summit, my vision was totally hazy. I was not able to see more than 5 feet. And my biggest worry at that point was coming down from Mount Everest with hardly any eyesight. And the Sherpas were helpful, but these guys were not they didn't have too much TLC. So it was a bit of what the climb down should have been 4 or 5 hours. It took me about 9 to 10 hours to come down. And mainly because, and that my biggest worry was what will happen to my eyesight, if it's no blindness. But thankfully, my sight is back, almost 80% in both eyes. So,
And all that, hey, I'm at Camp 4 and all that. And then I put more, covers and all that. And then went to sleep. But however, next morning, I woke up maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I felt my cheeks were just solid piece of
rock kind of thing.
rock kind of thing, very hard, So I am wondering. I thought it's got to be the oxygen, but at that time something is not right, and I'll try to adjust. It got marginally better, but it was still, it was not painful.
Basically, it's frostbite.
It was frostbite.
So folks, frostbite is a condition where, because of the cold, the blood vessels supplying blood to various parts of the body just freezes from inside. Or in other words, there is no blood flow into that part. And the minute there's no blood flow, then as Jafar said, it just becomes like rock because it's cold outside, nerves get numb, and it just starts to die at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I think you got it while coming down, and you were able to,
Yeah. So the thing is, the next morning when I was climbing down from Lhotse, of course, you're fatigued, tired, crazy, and then so the descent was not as fast, and because of this condition, and also, I had dressed way too warm, especially and on the way, way after Camp 4, when I just took things off, I felt a lot better. Maybe I should have not dressed as warm as I did, but that slowed me down. So again, from Camp 4 to Camp
3?
We passed Camp 3. We just stopped for water at Camp 3, water, and then we continued to Camp 2. So we left around 8 or 9 o'clock, and I got to Camp 2 at around 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
And at the time,
good 8 to 9
it
hours.
was a climb, and I saw your face had really bloated up by that time, isn't it?
Yeah, by then my face, this thing had swollen, and I was extremely tired, and I thought hey, it will. And then that's when my Sherpa told that what you have is some frostbite. We don't know what the severity of it is, but if it gets infected, or if it starts swelling, then your eyes, it'll shut your eyes down, and it'll be too dangerous for you to go down
In Kumbhu again.
Kumbhu again, and because from there rescue is not possible.
So Camp 2 is the only time rescue is possible.
Yeah, Camp 2. So that's when I decided to take a chopper
From
down.
Camp 2 directly to Kathmandu.
Kathmandu. Yeah.
And I think that is when, Lubna, you got to know that there is an emergency helicopter pickup and all that. How did you feel? What was your... it was not good, right?
You know exactly how I felt that moment. Although Jafar spoke to me and he told me he was, that this emergency had occurred and he's going to be rescued with a rescue chopper and he's going to have to go to the hospital to get checked out. He's okay, but this is what's happening. And he was also just talking about how, that he had paid for this but they're not coming, and he had to
Insurance was not
the insurance wasn't covering, and I was like, listen, just get on I don't care if you have to spend $650,000, just get on the chopper. At that moment,
Let's get the hell out of that mountain.
And he's explaining to me why he's gonna spend $6,500 and why it was. I'm like, are you kidding me? At this time, just get on the chopper. That doesn't mean anything to me. Just please get on. And I heard the chopper in the background, and he was like, okay, we were kind of speaking loudly, and he got on the chopper. But I think that was my moment of breakdown. That's
it's a low point because I thought that, oh my God.
That's when I lost it. Although I knew he had gotten on the chopper, but I didn't know what was happening because he told me he's going to the hospital and it's I
some
heard
eye
all
trouble.
all the red flags. There's a rescue helicopter. He's going to the hospital. There was eye trouble. There was swelling. All sorts of things were happening, so I didn't know what to expect, and I think it was around probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and I texted you, and I said, hey Balaji, are you up? And you called me right away, and I think that's when I lost it.
Yeah. I mean, you needed that release.
And I just, I didn't know what to do, and I just cried and cried and cried.
No, that's a good thing. It's a good thing because there's a lot of things that it's not easy when you only have 10% information and then you catch hold of your imaginations, not running wild, and then there is a chopper happening, there is an emergency. But as they say, all is well that ends well.
Yes.
Looks like you went to the hospital and you just got over in 24 hours, you're okay, I guess.
Yeah, 24 hours I was fine. So got to the hospital, I was kind of surprised. This is Nepal, okay? I just have to say a few things. we are flying down towards Kathmandu, and suddenly the pilot starts descending. Suddenly he lands in one of the fields. We see cows around us and all that. What the hell is happening? Of course, this was from Lukla. We had shared the chopper, so there were other people sitting in there. So somebody's bag was not stored properly. So the pilot goes in the back, comes back with a yellow bag, and says, whose bag is this? It's one of the passengers. So he puts it in the front seat. He just puts it in the front seat. Okay. And then there's a guy sitting in the front and he says, hold on to this. And the guy's holding on to it, and I'm in the meantime, sitting in the back. Do you remember, I'm holding on to my backpack and this and that, so and then he takes off again. And this time, and then next he starts hovering over the city in Kathmandu somewhere, and then again starts landing, and this time he lands on the roof. That's actually the hospital. So okay, and then the guy comes with us. Some guys come with a stretcher and they say, who is going to the hospital? I said, I am, but I don't need that. No, this is our protocol. You have to lie down on it. I'm like, okay. And then and of course, they take me to the emergency and ER, I'm surrounded by doctors, everything starts, and then anyway, my main worry is when I tell them about the eyes and this thing, my main worry is about this thing. They say, okay, we have to rewarm this. I said, how long will it take? So I said, when do you want to go? I said, I'd like to just go home tonight if possible, but they said, no, it's going to take you at least at least 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours, but more likely 48 hours. I said, okay, it is what it is, and then they,
Do all the tests,
all the tests,
stuff.
everything starts, and then they take me to the eye doctor also. The eye doctor looks at it, checks my eyes, everything, gives me all the drops and all, says, observes. Next morning, the eye doctor tells me that it's a mild case of snow blindness, and it'll get better with time.
So meanwhile, I'm talking to Rajan, and I am booking a flight to Nepal.
For you to go.
Yes, I'm like telling him I'm coming there. And he's like, sure, if you want to visit the city, and there's plenty to do over here, and celebrate his summit. I'm like, no, my husband's in the hospital. I don't care. I have to be there. And he's like, listen, I know that you're really upset, and I understand. So here's what I'm going to do. Just give me 2 hours. And I'll tell you if you need to get on the next flight.
Beautifully said.
Because I'm actually going to drive there, and I will call you. I will take a picture with him, and I will send you. But I think he's going to be okay.
Yes.
Unless you really want to come down and for him. And my thought was, well, how's he going to come back alone? Like, he's just gone through so much trauma. I need to talk his ears out while we're coming back. Like, I need to be there. So I'm, and I woke up my sons. We're all looking at tickets, and this is 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're all like panic stricken and looking. And then Rajan was like, again, he texted, and I'll show you the text. Again, he texted me a few minutes later. Unless you'd like to see the beauty of Nepal, I suggest that you wait until I give you the update. And I was like, okay, I'm waiting, for you to give me an update. But then I called Jafar directly again just to see if the phone was working, and then we spoke, and he was like, oh, fine.
Yeah. As they say, right, all is well that ends well. Within 24, 48 hours, Jafar became totally fine, everything checked out. It's just a little bit of a nice mark here in his beautiful cheek.
He's actually looking better than what he did when he went to Aconcagua. He almost lost his ears.
Yeah, I remember.
And
So he looks great now, and I think, how are you feeling, my friend? Are you fully 100% fit or some?
Yeah, there's some still lingering effects, like I have a little bit of tingling in my fingers and all, which actually reduces when I went for a run this morning or did some yoga.
Oh, you went for a run this morning?
No, I actually run in the evening, but I did the yoga, so I think with this increased circulation,
It'll get all right.
It'll get better sooner.
Our first friend in our large friend circle, a grandpa of my senior, climbing Mount Everest. Let's give it up to Jafar.
My hero.
Our hero.
My husband.
Yes, her husband, our hero. I climbed Everest t-shirt. And I'm assuming you're not going to climb any mountain for the next 10 years, is that right?
No, well, we're thinking of climbing Chimborazo.
Are you kidding? Lubna.
Well, since Sami and Nasir are climbing Chimborazo, and they've been asking me about it, so I was holding back on it. But once I came back, I said, you know what? If the boys are going, it will be good to be alongside them. And
so Chimborazo, guys, is in the Andes mountain range in Ecuador, and it has its its claim to fame is while Everest is the highest mountain peak from the surface of the earth,
from sea level.
From the sea level, Chimborazo is the highest mountain peak if you start measuring from the center of the core of our earth, because it's right on top of the equator. Yeah. So you want to do that as well, both the summits of the highest peaks in various measurements.
That's the point closest to the sun.
That's a point close to the sun, 23,000 feet, which for him is definitely a child's play. But you will not take any mountain.
It's not 23,000 feet.
Is it a little less than that?
It's much less than that. It's like 20,500 or something.
Oh, that means he will not even think about it. He'll just run up and come back.
Not that
but that's.
I heard it's a very difficult.
It is a difficult.
I heard that mountain actually decides he's going to come.
Yes, pretty much all mountains, especially Chimborazo with the weather and all that. Of course, no mountaineer will take any mountains irrespective of the altitude lightly. Every mountain has to be respected, as we all know.
Exactly.
But Jafar, last question before I close this incredibly insightful story and such a beautiful story. I think you must be talking for a couple of hours now. Thanks for sitting with us. I know it's exhausting for you. It's almost 1 o'clock in the night, and we're still doing this. One last question. Top 2 things in the entire Everest, and maybe one word of wisdom or advice to, let's say, the next Jafar who might be thinking about climbing Everest.
I would answer the second question first. I would say anybody who's going to the Everest, I felt very alone, because even though I was in company of other climbers, but there was nobody I felt who would care for me more than their own summit. So if you're planning to go to Everest, go with a buddy or 2 buddies and make a pact amongst yourself that you all will summit or no one will summit, and this way it'll give you an extra level of security that somebody has your back.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be the most important thing. And as far as the 2 most important thing about Everest is, number 1 is it is the number 1 mountain in the world. It has its own charm. It has its own beauty. From the time you get to Nepal, you see, you set your eyes on it and aspire to get to the summit of it, which ultimately the mountain decides, but that's your aspiration and you work towards that. And there will be a million reasons for you to stop, turn back, but that one desire to basically stand on the summit and look around is
Worth it.
Is worth it, and is motivation enough to put one foot after another. The second thing is, of course, Nepal, going through the Everest Base Camp, that in itself are very rewarding in itself. So even if you don't do the summit, you go through the base camp trek, you will find the hospitality of the Nepalese people. You'll find the beauty of Nepal to be well worth it in itself.
It's amazing words. And folks, to put this in context of what Jafar, what group he belongs to right now, if you think about it, there are about 6 to 7 billion people right now in this world. And if you look at the entire human history, let's add another 3 to 4 billion people who have passed away but who've been there from the Homo sapiens and trunk. So around 11-12 billion human beings ever existed in Earth. In that 11-12 billion people, only about 7,000 people stood on top of this point, Everest summit. Only 7,000. 7,000 out of 12 billion people.
It's like counting on your hands.
Yeah, in the history, it's like a couple of sands, few small sand particle from an entire Florida beach or something. That's what we are looking at from a proportion standpoint. And in that exclusive 7,000 club, Hillary is part of that club. Edmund Hillary, Tenzing Norgay, they're all part of that club. And in that club, our Jafar is part of it. That's a goosebump creating statement. And I am like talk of ordinary people trying to do and actually achieving extraordinary things. That's really what Jafar is about. Dude, thank you for motivating all of us. Thanks for the energy, the story that you've said. Thanks for motivating me. Thanks for your support for the Runners High Club and its mission. And Lubna ji, what a leader you are. What a delightful personality you are. What a beautiful human being you are. Thanks for making it fun for not just for Jafar, but for all of us in that WhatsApp group. And the level with which you maintain your grace at tough times is an inspiration to us, to me. Keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you everybody for listening to this beautiful story. Please share this with your friends. I think each and every human being should know about this ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things story. Thank you, Jafar.
Thank you, and it does not have to end here. We are looking for more people to come forward and climb their own Everest. It does not have to be Mount Everest. Everyone has their own Everest that they can climb, and which could be extraordinary feat for all of us, and set an example for all of us.
All right, man. On behalf of all of us, a small
And-
cake to celebrate your success.
And really, I must thank every one of you, all my friends, family, my wife, my kids, without whose support, I don't think I would have been able to do it.
Yes.
Awesome.